Okay, so you're all coming to class. Welcome, welcome. I'm going to try to pretend like this is an actual back to school night video, like it's been every year in the past. So you're all filtering in. Please take a seat. Please take a seat. All right, put your phone away. Thank you, thank you. But seriously, this year it's obviously going to be recorded for those of you who can't attend. If this was live, like I'm doing Monday night, I would ask for you to turn your microphones off or on using Control D, because that's a common function that we use in Google Meet. And for some of you, the presentation looks really small and you want to make it bigger. So if you're doing a Google Meet and you want to make it bigger, you can hover over top of the screen where the presentation is and click on the pin that pins the presentation. And you can click F11, and that makes the screen completely just show the presentation. Those are two things I'm really going to encourage your students to do this year so that they minimize the distractions that are on the side of the screen that can really throw kids off from being present in the moment. So first, I'd like to take a second and talk to you about who I am. My name is Russell Murphy. I am actually from Loudoun County. I was born in Sterling, and then I graduated on the other side of the county from Loudoun Valley. Back in the day when there were only 4 high schools, I'm going to guess most of you don't know how many high schools there are today. You in the red sweater? That's wrong. Sorry, it's 18. There are now 18. I went to Virginia Tech, and then I studied chemistry there and got my bachelor's there. And then I went over to the dark side, to UVA, um, and got my master's in education there eventually. I started teaching chemistry in 1998 in Florida, and I taught there for 4 years before moving back to Loudoun County. In 2002, I started teaching here at Potomac Falls, and I love being a Panther ever since. I teach chemistry in just about every flavor out there, academic, research, or AP. I've done them all, and I'm doing them all this year. This year, I'm a co sponsor for the Strategy Club. And in past years, I've sponsored a whole lot, like NHS, SNHS, all sorts of interesting things. This year, there's going to be plenty of challenges, and we are going to come at it with the right attitude because I definitely believe that any challenge could be conquered if you come at it with the right attitude. We are going to make mistakes. Your students are going to make mistakes. The key to life isn't to let those mistakes get in the way, it's to find solutions to those errors. And that's one of the things we're going to key in on all year long is it's okay to make mistakes as long as we realize that they were just a mistake and that we're going to improve upon them. We need to have that growth mindset, improve, improve, improve. Materials, this is a common question we get. What materials does my son or daughter need for class? In academic and research, there's a workbook that has a lot of the notes and the homework and the practice problems already filled in there. And we're going to use those. It's going to be the paper product at home that your student's using. They, of course, need some sort of calculator. I prefer a graphing calculator like a TI-83 or better, but there's plenty of different graphing calculator types out there. There are some emulators for phones, but I really don't like those. The phone emulators often have little hitches that students don't realize, and I won't be there this year to help them. If your student needs a graphing calculator, please email me a request, and I will try to make sure they get a graphing calculator. Um, and of course, the standard classroom supplies like pencil, pen, something to write on, some little scrap paper, stuff like that. And one thing I'm definitely recommending that every student have this year is post-it notes. And put post-it notes around the screen, little reminders for yourself, such as how do I turn my microphone off and on? What group am I in today? And things like that. Um, I've also posted a link for questions and a link to the school schedule on my personal website over at Potomac Falls. Feel free to look at that. But enough about that. There is a link to questions also on my webpage where you all can type questions in there that you come up with during this presentation. Everyone's going to be able to see those questions. It is a live document that anyone types on, they can see. I'm only going to leave it open for a couple days. And if there's anything major that I miss, I'll actually just email it all to all the parents. Okay, so let's move on. What is the routine going to look like in chemistry? So this routine kind of goes for academic research and AP with some slight variations between them, but those variations are going to be inconsistent. So I thought you would just appreciate a general overview. So on Mondays, that asynchronous day where kids are at home doing work for each of their classes, I'm going to ask that they prepare for the week by doing a couple of things, maybe watching a video that I put out there or one of the other teachers puts out there, pre-filling some notes. That way, when we're doing presentations in class, they're not trying to fill those in at the moment, and then submit some effort, evidence of effort. And there's a lot of different ways that they can do that, and we're going to talk about that also. Um, the first day we actually see each other, whether it's Tuesday for A days or Thursday for B days, here we have this agenda. We're going to have like a welcome moment where kids show me something that I've asked them to do the day before, and I go over the agenda. That's going to be real fast. That's also where I take roll. It is very important that your student arrives before class starts. I will have a Google Meet available for them to arrive in, open minutes before class starts, not at the exact time. And so I'll be sitting there with my microphone off, and the second the bell rings, boom, I'm going to start going. So kids that come in late need to like set a priority of getting there on time because they might feel lost, and that just stinks. Because there's not really a good opportunity for me to go backwards in time and have a lot of one-on-one chats in this environment. But if you recall, in the schedule that's there, there's plenty of time between classes. I don't know if you look at that very closely. The first block of the day ends at 10:49, right? It ends at 10:49, and the second block begins at 10:54. So there is a couple of minutes after learning lab where they still have a chance to get ready to go to the next class. So they really need to make sure they budget their time well. So I talking way too long about the very first thing. Welcome, agenda, then I'll do some sort of presentation. Maybe it's information, a little bit of notes, something like that, where they're writing down examples. Then they're going to break into groups. Yes, there's a way you can break into groups in a digital format, and we'll talk about that in a minute. They're going to break into groups, and they're going to do some sort of assigned task. Like one kid will have to do one problem, and another kid will have to do another problem, and they get a minute or so to think about that problem and to work their way through it, and then they pair together and they talk about what they just did. They share their work with each other. Hey, I got this, and here's how I did the problem. Hey, I got this, and it's fast. It's real fast. And then we come back together, and I'm going to pick a group from the 6 groups I send out there to share their information. And I'm not going to tell them which group it is in advance. And that's where they kind of feel like, man, I need to really put my best foot forward, and because it might be my group, it might be the green group's turn, and then we go back into a presentation and then go back to activities. We kind of fluctuate back and forth. And that way, it's not just me rambling at you the whole time like I am right now. It goes back and forth between activity and practice. Then we have a conclusion, and at the end of the first block, I need a submission of work. What did they do during class? Did they take notes? Did they work on some of those problems? And it's really just going to be snapping a couple photos, either with their Chromebook or with their phone, and they can upload from their phone directly into Schoology. They can upload through their Chromebook directly into Schoology. And then they're going to have some homework practice problems also, all in that notebook packet I'm given. The second day is very similar, as you can see there. And I really want to key in on the end there, the conclusion and questions. That last 10 minutes is really questions any student might have, and then they have to submit some evidence of work again. And then on the second day, we're going to take a quiz on what they should have been practicing. They should have been practicing, 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 and then they should be showing me that they know what they're doing. When we get to that conclusion and question section, some kids might already be ready and ready to go, and they may go ahead and start taking the quiz. Other kids may stay back for a minute and ask specific questions. So, how do we break up into groups? On my Schoology webpage, there is a banner or a header that looks just like this. And the top piece says chemistry. Click on the image above for the chemistry Google Meet, and that's where they would click, and it would open up the Google Meet that starts every class. And then below that are the different breakout rooms. And I'm going to randomly assign groups each day. So one day it might be Bob, Sally, and Jim, and the next day Sally's with 2 other people she wasn't with the day before. They're going to be in a different group every day, rotating around, and that's going to be the group they do their think, pair, share with. Okay. And I have those links also posted right there in Schoology so they can leave the Google Meet and go into the Green Groups breakout room. Now, I can also go into each of those rooms. So while the 6 groups are out there working, I'm going to pop into those rooms, be like, hey, Green Group, how's it going? What's got you tripped up? Hey, Blue Group. So I'm going to rotate through those groups and see what's going on. Should be quick in and out. Um, and then we have assessments. Assessments are a mixture of methods in Schoology. You think about a way a question can be asked. It is available in Schoology, including one cool aspect, creating videos where kids worked out a problem and they say, hey, here's how I did the problem. They create like a 30-second video explaining how they did the problem and submit that for an answer. And that's something I do in my class regularly where I go, hey, how did you do that problem? And the kid has to explain it to me. And so now it's just going to be a video where I have to sit down and watch them instead of having that one-on-one conversation. They have to record it. There also might be writing papers for labs. That's really typical in research and AP chemistry, writing papers on labs and exploring the world around us and how chemistry and everything. I kind of skipped over the labs part because labs, while we're in distance learning, are going to be very different. They're only going to be distance learning wise. They're only going to be digital. We can't do chemistry at home. You can't burn things at home. I can't require any of that stuff. Most of this conversation just applied to research and academic. I'm going to take a minute and talk about AP chemistry because that's such a different course. So if you're not an AP chemistry, you don't need to listen. First of all, this is a second year course. You've already taken the previous chemistry course and you loved it. And now your student wants to take it again, maybe because they want to major in it or maybe because they want to be a doctor. Who knows why? Maybe they just want to take more chemistry. This AP chemistry course is equal to 2 semesters of college chemistry and the lab associated with it. So that's like 6 to 8 college credit, depending on the college and the student major. You have to check with those colleges. It's weird. It's many more hours of study to understand the concepts. When they practice, when they do homework, they need to be focused on the concepts and not the process. Whereas in academic and research, they really kind of learn a couple approaches to problems. And there, they really need to understand the concepts. A lot more essay writing and things like that. We're not just preparing for the exam, though we're also preparing for college chemistry. Most kids, maybe whether they do well or not on the AP exam, if they have to take college chemistry again, they almost always ace it. I've had a lot of good stories. Kids who got a C in AP chemistry then go on to be chemistry majors and get straight A's because AP chemistry gave them a foot up. And then my last slide before we end this is, I think, really very important. Communication is key. In class, when I'm going to pick a group each day, hey, today it's purple group right now. Purple group is the voice of the class. And during a presentation, everyone else's microphones is off. And I'm going to just use the purple group as the voice of the class. And they get to raise questions and things like that. And then they know that it's their time. If there's personal concerns, whether it's parent or student, maybe you want to email me. We could set up a conference, a video conference, totally fine. And we're also discussing before school tutoring sessions where teachers are waiting in a Google Meet for kids to be able to come in. But really, again, communication is key. I need you and your students to communicate with me. Um, Again, if you go back to my website on this communication is key part, there is a link where you can ask questions. You ask questions and I answer them right on there. And I will be sending out some of the substantive responses to the whole group. I hope we have a great year, and I'm really looking forward to teaching your students.